Well, good morning. We are live here at Viome. And if you haven't noticed, we have a new webinar platform. It's something to get used to for us as well. So take a look around on the platform. Notice we have a chat column over here on the right. Colleen has already said hello. Check in. Let us know your name. Let us know where you are logging in from. We are going to get started with this webinar event very soon, Cooking with the Clinical Nutrition Team. We are very, very excited to get started today. All of us are here today. So let's take a look here. Daniela, Margie, Sally, Carol, Jan, Cheryl. It's going to go really, really fast. I may not be able to read everybody. Oh my, Jolene from Salt Lake, Wendy, Toronto, Lisa. Oh my God, it's going so fast.
Austin, Texas, Vancouver.
You guys can pull out.
Nashville. We got someone from Spain.
Adam from Montreal. Yes, hi, Timothy, Los Angeles. Brent from Idaho. Michelle, Sacramento. I'm sorry if I'm skipping over you. Barbara, New Jersey. Marcus, Connecticut. Sandy, Victoria. Peg, Minnesota. Tanya, Temecula. And Donna from Hamburg, New York. Laura from California. Jennifer. Wow. Yep. That's right, Jennifer. It's raining right now.
Sure is here in Seattle.
Myself, Grant, and Hillary are in the Viome offices in Bellevue, and Janelle is joining us from her home in the Midwest. And it's probably a little bit sunnier over there where you are, Janelle, yeah?
It is, yeah. It's been pretty nice still, but it's starting to feel like fall.
Yep. The leaves are turning, and it is definitely beginning to look like fall. It is 11:02. We're going to wait probably like another minute for everybody to come on in so we can get started with everybody all at the same time. The numbers are ticking up there. We have a few people coming on in. Geraldine from St. Louis, Marlene, full sun in Los Angeles. What else is new? Although you guys have had a lot of rain down there lately, that is for sure. Doris, Newport Beach. Lisa from Los Angeles. Nice. Jane, trying to find the sound button, can't hear Jane. So if you did not hook up your speakers, you may want to refresh your browser. This is a browser-based platform, or exit out and come on back in. That may help you. And also you may want to join from an incognito browser. That could help as well. I hope you if you can't hear me, try to refresh your browser. Okay, I'm actually going to type that in. Try to refresh. To here. Okay, so hopefully that will help you. All right, let's see, 11:04. I do think that it is time to start. So I want to welcome everybody here today to our live webinar content event, Cooking with the Clinical Nutrition Team. All right, we're going to move on to the next slide. My name is Lisa Shomo. I am Senior Content and Marketing for Viome, and I have three fantastic individuals here with me. We're going around like the Brady Bunch here. We're going to go with Grant Antoine. Say hi. Excellent.
Hello, everybody.
We have Hillary Kaiser.
Hello, friends. Welcome.
Hi. And then we have Janelle Connell.
Hi, everyone.
And they are all members of the clinical nutrition team. These are the people that are directly behind all of the wealth of information that go into your food and supplement recommendations. They do all of the hard research behind everything that goes into making your food recommendations and your supplement recommendations what they are. All right. So excellent. Here we go. We are getting started with these awesome things. Part one, which is something that I hear a lot about, especially since I do the app tours, getting people knowledgeable within running around in their app when they first get their results and recommendations. They're like, I don't have any green vegetables. I don't have any cruciferous vegetables. What do I eat in place of all these things that I can't eat anymore? So there are a lot of foods that you can swap in for these things that you can't eat for, but just it's not permanent, remember, just a little while. But we have a great list of suggestions for swaps, substitutions, replacements for those foods that you can't eat anymore. Who's first up on these list of swaps and subs and replacements? Who's up on that?
Yeah, I think that's me. And
Excellent.
I'm really excited. Yeah, we're going to talk about this. A lot of times we come on and we talk about our science, which is also really exciting, but it's so important to talk about, like, how do we actually do this, right? How does it work in our day-to-day life? So, all right, this is new platform for me, so hopefully I don't mess our slides up. One of our biggest areas that we get a lot of questions on, right, is these food viruses. You might have some foods that you're avoiding because of a food virus. There's a few foods that are pretty common on this: tomatoes, bell peppers, and cucumbers. A lot of people see those. So if you have them as an avoid with a virus, don't worry. I think that it's called pepper mild mottle virus is really one of the most common. So that bell pepper shows up for avoid for 30 days for a lot of people. Remember, like Lisa said, it's temporary, especially with food viruses. It's only about 30 days. If you need to, you can tackle one at a time. Like, let's say you have 3 different food viruses. If you need to tackle one at a time, you can try that.
That's a good suggestion, Janelle. I've never heard of that before. I've always tried to tackle them, and like last time I had 4 at one time. I've never heard that suggestion before, but that's a good one.
Yeah, but it's hard, right? If you're like, okay, I'm gonna avoid 4 vegetables that I eat regularly, maybe try to phase it one at a time and let that virus clear. All right, so if you do have some of those avoids for food viruses, I would say look for other veggies that are either similar in color or texture. And the color is important because a lot of times you get some of the same nutrients, some of the same antioxidants, polyphenols if you're choosing a food that has a similar color. If you need to avoid something like a cucumber, but you really want a crunch and you're looking for a similar texture, jicama is a really nice option. I think I hardly ever see that as avoided for people. It's really watery and crisp. Radishes would be similar. I like keeping a bag of shredded carrots around. I find that's like so easy to add into foods, whether it's like a fresh salad or a stir fry or something like that. It's just like a quick thing to have around. And if you're just avoiding, the cucumber, but you can still have some of like the mild hot peppers and you like something spicy and crunchy, you can definitely, look for that as an option as well. When it comes to cooking, if you're cooking at home, most of us find like subbing in a veggie can be relatively easy, right? I can't eat bell peppers, but I can throw some mushrooms into my sauteed veggies. Where it gets a little bit more tricky for me is when these avoid foods are in like our sauces or our condiments. And maybe you have like you love like a red sauce with pizza or pasta or on your zucchini noodles or something like that. And now all of a sudden, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Because I can't have tomatoes for 30 days. We have a few suggestions on here. I really love like a simple olive oil and garlic. I think that's really fresh to add to any foods. Pesto can be done as well. Or with the fall butternut squash is a really nice option. I don't know if you guys have tried that, but on a pasta or even like roasted veggies drizzled on top, it's really yummy. And then if you have that tomato avoid, but you can have the bell peppers, try a roasted red bell pepper sauce. It's going to look really similar to the tomato sauce, have that same kind of consistency, and the roasted flavor is really yummy. A lot of the recipes out there do still call for like a little bit of tomato paste in them, but you can substitute that with like a tablespoon of arrowroot powder just to give it a little thickness to your sauce. When it comes to substituting ketchup, mustard's obviously an option. I really love using hummus. I like using hummus on sandwiches, on wraps. You get some of like the moisture and some really nice flavor. You can even use things like apple cider vinegar on those as well, just to kind of, add that dimension to your meals. Okay, now the chef's standard. I hope I don't mess this up. I think it's pronounced mirepoix. Grant could probably back me up there. That's
it. Nailed it.
The onions and celery and carrots, kind of like the holy trinity of cooking. We threw garlic in there as well because I think, most of us use garlic all the time, or if you go out to a restaurant, garlic is in so many things. But these foods can end up on your avoid list. They're strong aromatics, so they add great flavor and smell to your food. But for some people, they may be avoided. It's usually for two reasons. It might just be because of like the sulfur compounds in onion and garlic, based on your test results. And for other people, those foods, onion and garlic specifically, are higher in FODMAPs, which are those short chain carbohydrates that are fermentable, and some people just have a harder time digesting those. So they may end up on your avoid list for that reason too. So what do we do, right? If we can't use garlic, what are some other options? You might think, oh, well, I'll use garlic powder. But garlic powder actually still is a FODMAP, and it still has those sulfur compounds. So you'd want to keep that one on avoid as well. But a little trick you can use is you can infuse your oil with garlic instead. So check out your avoid reason if garlic's on avoid for you. But if it's because of those fermentable carbohydrates in it, those are not fat soluble. So you can infuse the oil with garlic. You can get the same flavor without getting those fermentable carbohydrates that might upset your digestion. And you can do that with onion as well. That would work the same, onion or garlic. I also really like chives. So again, if you're trying to avoid those higher FODMAP foods, trying to help your digestion, the green part of the spring onions, the chive, is lower in FODMAPs. So you can cut that, and that'll still add kind of that oniony flavor for you in your dishes.
Chives are very oniony. They're yummy.
Yeah, they're really good. Outside of that family, fennel is excellent. If you've had roasted fennel, it's so good. It kind of has a stringy consistency like an onion. So that's a really fun one to play with. Other aromatics, again, those things that add like the smell and really strong flavor. I always say this wrong. Celeriac, it's the bulb of a celery plant. You actually can eat it raw or cooked. You peel it, but it's got those aromatics as well. And it's a lower oxalate food than celery is. Yeah. Go ahead, Grant.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's the difference between that and just regular celery? I don't think I've ever heard that.
Yeah, I know. We should get a picture, but it's the bulb part, and then the celery comes off at the top. And yeah, lower in oxalates, lower in FODMAPs and things like that. Fresh or raw, fresh or cooked, you can have it. So it's kind of a fun one.
I've never had it. Does it taste a lot like celery? Because it looks like a lump.
I think it's a little rootier. Like it's more, think of like kind of a root vegetable. Same with parsnips. That would be similar, right? You could roast it.
Parsnips are delicious.
And have those as well. Yeah, those are really good. So those are kind of some fun things to play around with. Luckily, especially fennel and parsnips, you can pretty much find in any grocery store. And so if you're being careful of your onions and garlic, try to rotate some of those in. You'll still get really great flavor and aromas from your food.
So,
all right.
That's great.
Jolene says, my avoid list has onions. My okay list has shallots. What's the difference? But there is a difference because they're listed separately on your food list. So
they are listed separately. It's probably, we want to check the reason why, right? So you want to read the reason why. But we do look at overall content, right? So if we're looking at sulfur compounds, it could be that one is higher in sulfur compounds than the other. But we could look at that a little bit more closely.
Cool.
Oh,
great.
All right, I'm gonna go on to the next slide. I think Grant, are you gonna take over here?
Yeah, that's me. Leafy greens. It's really funny. People get so attached to the foods in their diets, right? We get these, like, I don't want to say hate emails, but we get some strong responses from our customers when we pull out things like kale, spinach, broccoli. Hillary will talk about cruciferous vegetables in a moment, but it's for good reason, right? We love these foods too, but if we're trying to improve your scores, maybe you have a high sulfide gas production score, or maybe low oxalate metabolism, then we want to pull these foods out for a bit. And there's always a replacement. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that customers make is they don't really dig into their enjoy and minimize list, right? And I feel like we get on repeat a little bit, but there's so much good nutrition and diversity in those two lists that they're not to be forgotten. I know superfoods and avoids tend to be the rock stars, and people are always focused on those, but the enjoy and minimize. And again, the minimize, we want you to have some of those foods, 1 to 2 servings a day. They shouldn't be treated as avoids. And again, so if you find some of these leafy greens have been pulled out for you, maybe they're on the avoid list, look at those lists and start to look through. You're going to have other options there. And I think almost every time a customer complaint has come through, and we highlight the other greens that are available in those two lists, and they're like, oh, right, this is great. Yeah, I had no idea. Let me work in some of these minimized foods. So what are some of the options? I think escarole going to be at the top of the list. It's low oxalate and low in glucosinolates. It's going to be a great option. Works really well in soups. So if you're doing like kale in your soups or some of these other things with the hotter dish, escarole is a little hardier and can hold up. It's known for Italian wedding soup, actually. It's kind of one of the main ingredients in that recipe. Arugula is going to be another great option. Good peppery flavor. You see arugula all over the place. I love arugula myself. Endive, it's going to be in the chicory family, going to be a good prebiotic source, or a good source of prebiotic fiber, sorry. Other lettuces that, not necessarily iceberg lettuce. Even so, like any of the lettuces, you want to always go as green as possible that you can get. So when you're shopping, look for that. But there's Boston and Bibb and butter lettuce and coral lettuce. Coral lettuce is often you'll see it as a garnish. It'll be kind of red and looks almost like kale-ish in a way, the way it curls. Looks like sea coral. That's why it's called coral lettuce. There's watercress, also a great green. It's going to be low in oxalate. And then there's dandelion greens. I love dandelion greens too. They're a good option. They're often mixed into those spring mix blends. They're a low oxalate and low glucosinolate as well. Remember, you're not tied into just the one. Like, it doesn't have to be a 1-for-1 swap. So you pull out the kale, it doesn't have to just be the escarole. You can mix up the different green varieties, and then also bring in some herbs. You can bring in cilantro, basil, dill, mint, add a little more pep, a little more flavor, a little more variety. You're going to get the nutrients and the benefits of those herbs as well, and get the flavor benefits. And then, if you find maybe you don't have access, or like these don't sound appealing to you, maybe you don't like the taste of something like arugula, maybe you just skip the salad, right? Let's make it maybe a grain bowl. Put those veggies on top of quinoa, couscous, farro, maybe some wild rice. Just get that grain base, adding your veggies, mix it up, and there you go. Janelle mentioned the roasted fennel. I think that's a great option. I think for me personally, like, I always thought fennel, and maybe it was like a childhood memory. I was like, I don't like licorice. So like fennel, I think licorice. But now coming back to it, it's got, it's a similar flavor profile, but it's very mild. It's just a hint there. And I think it's a great option. So again, maybe use that roasted fennel as a base, put your veggies on top of that. But lots of options. And remember that any of these recommendations are really just going to be hopefully temporary until you retest. We'll see improvements in those scores, and then we're moving on. But yeah, lots of great options available to you.
Too far. Yeah, there we go. All right, the cruciferous vegetables. In my experience, you either love them or you hate them. I love cruciferous vegetables. Right? You asked my mom, I think, yeah, here on the webinar. I have always loved cruciferous vegetables and would beg for them as a kid. I was kind of weird. But a lot of people hate them. And turns out if you aren't enjoying them, you don't love them, it might have a lot to do with your genetics. So we have these genes that have to do with how we perceive the flavor of cruciferous vegetables. So if you have any variants in those genes, you might perceive the flavor a little bit differently. And then your gut microbiome also has a lot to do with your experience with cruciferous vegetables. I hear a lot of people say, oh, I can't eat cabbage or whatever cruciferous vegetable, you name it, because it gives me a lot of gas, a lot of bloating. Well, it turns out cruciferous vegetables have a compound in them called glucosinolates. This is a compound that contains sulfur. Now, if your gut microbiome, or actually your oral microbiome too, can do this, if it's producing a lot of sulfide gas, by eating cruciferous vegetables, you're essentially just giving more fuel to the fire. You're supplying more sulfur for those microbes to create more gas. And of course, we don't want to have more gas. It can affect our motility and our gut lining, and it can just make us feel downright uncomfortable. So if you're in that group of people and you need to avoid your cruciferous vegetables, I have some tips. I had to do this for a little while myself. So it has a lot to do with the context of the vegetable, I think. So I like to do a crudite platter, so like a veggie, raw veggie and dip. So for that, when I'm eating them raw, I like to replace them with carrots, celery, or even cucumbers. Those vegetables still have a lot of great antioxidants that the cruciferous vegetables would offer us, and especially the carrots and the celery. They also have that same benefit of the broccoli and cauliflower, where they're kind of helping out your oral microbiome. They're very fibrous and crunchy, so they're almost brushing your teeth for you, right? So they're kind of mechanically scrubbing away at your teeth. So that's a nice bonus. What else? So broccoli, cauliflower are great as side dishes on their own. So as a replacement for those, I think green beans, asparagus work really well in that context. They're also great in stir fries. And then cabbage I like in a salad. So for a raw salad, kale is a really nice substitute. I know kale is also a cruciferous vegetable, but turns out that kale has a little bit less glucosinolates than these other cruciferous vegetables do. So if you have a lot of cruciferous vegetables on your avoid list, you might have kale and bok choy is in the same boat too on your minimize list. So as Grant mentioned before, you can still eat off your minimized list. We want to have variety in our diet. We want to be pulling from superfood, enjoy, and minimize lists. So look to that minimized list too. And Brussels sprouts. Oh, I love Brussels sprouts. I love Brussels sprouts roasted. So some other veggies that work well roasted, zucchini's good, roasted or grilled, leeks, asparagus, even artichokes you can roast and they taste really good in the oven. So lots of other options. Look to your food list for some other ideas. And then, pro tip, fermenting your cruciferous vegetables reduces the glucosinolates, that harmful compound that can produce more sulfide gas. So I like to have some fermented veggies on hand at all times. Not only is there less glucosinolates, but then your veggies are going to last longer. I think the shelf life of a fermented food is something like 6 months. So it's nice to have those on hand, especially during the week. If you're a busy family, you have those fermented veggies, so you can throw them on your plate, make sure you're getting your veggies in, and then bonus, you're getting a whole bunch of really great probiotics in there too.
Oh, here we go. Animal proteins. This is another one people get really kind of attached to. Looking at you, my keto folks and carnivore folks. So there's a variety of reasons why you might have beef, some meat, some fishes pulled out, put on the avoid or minimize list. I think I just first off want to say all of us probably should go a meal or two a week. If you are an omnivore, I am myself. I always try to get a meal or two in that's, or maybe even a day where I go vegan or vegetarian. I think it's a great idea. It forces you to be a little more creative. It opens up, the door to new recipes and ideas, adds diversity to your diet, and hopefully moves us away from processed foods. Right now, if you start looking at vegan vegetarian substitutes, they can be overly processed. I'll talk about that a little bit more when we talk about egg substitutes. But hopefully it's moving us towards like whole food, plant-based ideas. For those folks that are big on getting in their protein and they're concerned about complete proteins, this myth's been debunked, right? We think, hey, I'm not getting all those amino acids in this meal or for the day, but the body does an amazing job of recycling these amino acids and conserving them. And there's actually an amino acid pool that the body holds. And if you think about this, that like we weren't built to have food and like this constant source of decadence and buffets and desserts. Our ancestors were constantly looking for food, right? And they were lucky if they found it, especially in winter months. So we're really built to go without food, and that's how, as a species, we were able to survive. But because of that, because the body's so good at conserving some of these things, we pay for it a bit now with Westernized society. As we start to take all those carbs, convert them to fats, store that, and if you're not careful, you can really do some damage there. But even still, you say, you know what, I still want to get in my complete proteins. It's super simple if you want to be able to combine certain foods to get that complete amino acid profile. Basically, any legume, any bean or lentil that you combine with a whole grain, maybe brown rice, or any legume that you mix with nuts or seeds, like automatically those two different combinations, and it could be a variety of different combinations, are going to get you that complete protein profile, amino acid profile. So even skipping on some animal proteins, not a bad idea, and it's not going to negatively impact you. And you can, I think that's more evident too. You hear about vegan athletes being more and more I guess common these days, or at least more vocal. Some of these athletes that have been able to be successful based off vegan diet. So what are some subs if we are going to go for meat? A lot of people are attached to that beef. I know in our family we're constantly replacing ground beef with ground turkey. We've got 4 kiddos in the place, so ground meat, ground beef comes in a lot. But a simple switch, and especially with the turkey, don't go the super lean. If it's like the super white turkey, that does not make for a tasty burger or a tasty meal. Like, you want some of that fat. So the pinker turkey that you see it when it's ground, that's the way to go. I say that. There's good health benefits to do the all white, but if you're trying to feed the kiddos and you're looking for a better flavor profile, then that other turkey is going to be the better alternative.
Grant, my kids won't even let me make tacos without ground turkey anymore. That's the only type of meat they want for that. So it's a win.
Yeah,
it's
that's
a win
amazing.
with the kids.
It is a win. My wife, she constantly is like sneaking it in, and like they won't even know the difference. So I think that's fun. But if you want to replace that, so turkey, other lean cuts, lean pork, lean lamb, lean goat, even. Now you want to make sure, like if depending on the reason for the avoid, it's going to kind of drive the decision making on what are going to be acceptable substitutes. I mean, right off the bat, if I'm trying to replace beef because of maybe I've got an LDL pathways production, then I'm going to go to my fish, right? I'm looking at you, salmon. Salmon's easy, it's delicious. Halibut, cod, all these things. It could be on the pricier side. You got to do a little more digging in and savvy shopping. But you can get deals out there and they're available. But if it's TMA, you got to look at that minimize list. Again, minimize are okay. A serving or two a day is going to be okay. But you'll see on that minimize list multiple options that are come up. And maybe there is a little bit of the substrate that feeds that TMA pathway. There's still going to be some present, but maybe at a lower level. And this is where we have to make, as a clinical nutrition team, some hard and fast decisions on where's that threshold for carnitine and choline, and what's going to make it as a void, what's going to be minimized, what's going to be enjoy. Substitutes for the shellfish, really just bringing in your fish. Shellfish can contribute to, they tend to be high in purines. So if you get a high uric acid score, they also contribute to putrescine score if you have a non-optimal putrescine production pathway. So we want to pull those shellfish out, but bringing in just other natural fish, finfish, cod, haddock, halibut. You can see the list there. Already talked about turkey and chicken a bit. The protein fermentation, we get a lot of questions on this. So there really shouldn't be a lot of protein that makes it to the colon for these microbes to ferment, right? The body should be absorbing the greater majority of that amino acid and protein content. But if we have like large loads of protein coming in and kind of exceeds our capacity to digest and absorb, then more of that will make its way to the colon. Other folks just have an issue, an enzyme digestive issue. Maybe as we age, we produce fewer enzymes and we have a harder time breaking down that protein. So more of it makes it down the tube. But one strategy, split up those protein servings throughout the day, maybe smaller proteins throughout the day. And then look for your precision supplements. You might have some digestive enzymes there to help you break down that protein. And again, what we find too, which is interesting, a lot of the negative metabolomics, a lot of the substrates that are being produced by the microbiome tend to come from proteins, amino acids. And these, some of the more harmful metabolites are coming from these. So I think that kind of highlights the idea that these substrates, these amino acids really shouldn't be making it to the colon. We should be a little more mindful about our intakes and how we're approaching getting those proteins in. But fun fact, that then there's just plain old good swaps like jackfruit, green jackfruit. I think some of the best carnita bowls I've ever had in my life were jackfruit. You can season them just like you would any other meat. They're delicious. And then this hibiscus flowers thing, we just made these this week. They're amazing. I had never heard this. You just get dried hibiscus flowers, clean them really well. You boil them for a bit, and then you throw them in the pan just like you would your ground turkey or your ground beef. Season them like your taco meat. And they were a lot of fun. They got like a little tang to them. So if you think of it a little more like a al pastor style pork taco, add in the pineapple just to kind of go with that zip and that tang, a great option. So look for those. And like, I don't know, I just went on Amazon. I had no idea. I was like, hey, can I get bulk hibiscus flowers? And it was there. I think it was like $9. I got half a pound. It was way too much. And the advantage of there, Hillary knows this, when you boil the leaves, now you've got hibiscus tea. I've got a whole picture of hibiscus tea, and the kids love it. It's like a punch. It's got a tart. Very popular drink in Mexico. So
Connie said mushrooms also make great meal replacements. I agree with that. You like chop it up. You have good ground meat. You season that. That's good.
Absolutely, or like a portobello burger.
That's actually one of my favorite meals. Lion Mane's crab cake's so good.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Ooh, I need that recipe. Yeah. Eggs are another common avoid you'll see often for non-optimal TMA production as well. Also sulfide gas. Remember the egg yolks and the egg whites have different nutrient profiles. A lot of the carnitine, the phospholipids, and vitamins are going to be in those yolks. White's going to have your protein. It's going to be high sulfur, so a lot of times you'll see that as a minimizer avoid on your recommendations list. There's lots of egg substitutes on the market. I haven't tried any of them myself, but I kind of went through Amazon. I was looking at the reviews, and there's some out there that seem to be really, really popular. This Just Egg product, it had something like 4.5 stars on 17,000 reviews. Seems to be really popular. This is one of those, it's made from mung bean, but this is one of those replacements, those vegan vegetarian replacements that you might be a little leery of. If I'm sure, let me put it this way. I think the more tasty and the better a replacement that food is for the food you're trying to replace, so whatever the vegan vegetarian option is for that whole food that you're trying to replace, the better it is, the more processed it tends to be. That's just my experience, like going through the food aisle. So this is one of those, it cooks just like egg and it tastes just like egg, this kind of thing. But if you look at the label, you need to decide for yourself if that's something you want to bring in. Others like Neat Egg. Neat Egg is 2 ingredients. It's chia seed and garbanzo beans. Now it's got decent reviews. I think it's 3.5, 4 stars, but not as popular and maybe not as fulfilling and replacing that egg. But you look at those labels, make the decisions for yourself. Make sure whatever ingredients are on the replacement are still acceptable based off your Viome recommendations. Another option here that Judy's, you see that listed. They make dried egg powders, so
Right.
it's really interesting. You can get it all just egg white or whole egg. These are really good options if you're going to use egg in a recipe. Make sure you get the dried egg whites though, if like you're supposed to avoid whole egg or the egg yolk. Really, you just add water, put it into the recipe. Folks, I was looking in the reviews, make it for scrambles as well, and they enjoyed it. But really a good baking option. And then we talked about flaxseed earlier. Lisa mentioned you can find a ton of recipes online. It's really simple. You're just gonna get that flax seed, put it in with some water. Oh, there you go. That's so awesome. Yeah, get that recipe. Use it as a binder. This is really good if you're trying to use it as a binder. Maybe not so good if you're trying to add moisture or if you want to use that egg replacement as a leavening agent. But overall, a great option. And we use a lot of flax in our household. It's really good. And then there's tofu, just a pure, simple swap. You can do tofu scramble. And I saw another recipe is chickpea flour. So those garbanzo beans, those chickpeas. They take the flour and you add a little turmeric to make it yellow, to make look like eggs. Add a little, plant-based milk, whatever your preference is, and then use that for your scramble. And I saw a lot of great reviews on that. So lots of great options out there. Again, read your labels. Not all options are the same, but definitely, and I didn't mention this either, but like if you're going to go just away from egg, there's a high protein yogurt, Greek yogurts, salmon lox are popular. Salmon, get that fresh cold salmon in there, maybe throw it on a bagel, whatever you're doing. And then kind of lesser known, this is like from my country folks, like butterfly pork chops. I don't know if you guys have seen these. They're super thin. You can go up to the butcher counter, ask them for some butterfly pork chops. They're super thin, super lean. They cook easy and quickly in the frying pan. Just season them, and a good lean alternative for a protein source for breakfast if you're just trying to get another protein source in to replace that egg. So lots of options out there.
Never heard of those butterfly pork chops. That's cool. Thanks, Grant. Yeah. Sweeteners. Well, we are all wired to love sweet things. It's kind of like a survival mechanism that's encoded in our brains. If you think about the days when humans were foraging, the sweet things were those ripe berries or those really quick energy sources that we could get our nutrition from. So now we have a lot more sweet foods available to us. We need to be a lot more mindful about our sugar intake. You will notice some sweeteners on your Viome food list. We have stevia, honey, cane sugar, maple, molasses. So take a look at your list, see where those fall. And I would advise trying to stay away from any artificial sweeteners if you can. There are plant-based sweeteners like stevia, monk fruit. Those are okay, but the ones that are chemically modified, like the sucralose, those are the ones that you should really stay away from. There's been research that shows they're detrimental to our gut microbiome. They can decrease the diversity. And there's some newer research that shows that they may increase your risk for things like stroke and cancer. So try to eat natural if you can. And of course, use in moderation. One thing that I have done in the past that was really helpful for me to kind of curb my sweet tooth a little bit is to buy unsweetened products. For me specifically, it was my yogurt and my oatmeal. So buy them unsweetened, add my natural sweetener, and then over time start to slowly decrease the amount of sweetener added. So then my taste buds, my palate adjusts to less sweetness over time. It's not as a big of a change to just pull it out of your diet.
Okay, grains. Let's talk about grains. I think they get a little bit demonized, right? They can be good and bad. There's going to be a variety of reasons why some people might need to avoid some grains, but not necessarily all of them are bad. But we're going to have some people who are sensitive to gluten, people who have issues more with leaky gut, where gluten might be a little more pro-inflammatory. Or for other people, it just might be that like you have more of a glycemic response to certain grains as well. So if you're cutting back on those, one thing to really think about, is to be careful of just choosing anything that says gluten-free. And that can be, there's definitely great gluten-free products out there, but there's also a lot of really processed gluten-free products that are going to have a lot of, sugar and oils and things like that added to it. So I threw a couple examples up here. We can see like on the left side, it's a pretty clean list of ingredients, right? We've got like quinoa, different kinds of seeds, just some spices, versus on the right, gluten-free cracker as well, but we're getting corn flour, potato starch, sugar, salt, whey protein added into it, a whole variety of things. So whenever you can, first just go with like whole foods, right? Any kind of whole, like the quinoa, like the nuts and seeds, is going to be a better option than just leaning into a lot of the white rice kind of flour products, which are going to give you not very much nutrition, not very much fiber or minerals or things like that in your diet. All right, so be really careful of those gluten-free products. We have this picture here in the center, that piece of bread. This is actually Hillary's fermented buckwheat bread, and we're going to share that recipe with you guys. But this is an awesome example of how, if you need to be mindful of something like gluten, you can still have a grain that provides so much nutrition for you. Buckwheat, a lot of fiber, it's got like magnesium and potassium and things in it. So her recipe has I think it's like 3 or 4 ingredients, where you can still get that quality fiber.
It's super simple, and you could even omit those seeds and just do the buckwheat and the salt, and that still makes a good bread.
Yeah, that's awesome. When you're swapping out a flour, or even like we looked at before, a cracker or some kind of bread, look for these like flour alternatives that have some nutritional value. Almond flour is great, quinoa, coconut. There's a lot that are out there now on the market. Buckwheat can be another example. Some of our customers have oats as minimized, and that's probably due to the predicted glycemic response based on your microbiome, and that can be a tricky one. So remember, Grant said minimize does not mean avoid. So you can definitely still have oats. If you want to have oats one day a week, go for it. I would say, try to combat that glycemic response by maybe throwing in like a scoop of protein powder, or like a nut butter, or something that's going to provide some protein and fat with that. And then if you want to switch it up on the other days, a chia seed pudding can be a really good alternative. And again, like this is 3 ingredients max that you need. You're going to soak the chia seeds with some kind of milk or milk alternative, dairy-free version, maybe a little bit of honey in there, and you're going to let that soak overnight, and you can put whatever toppings you want on it in the morning. But chia seeds are wonderful for both their fiber and their protein. So that's an easy swap to make there. For us, like our kind of pro tip is, whenever you can, try to swap out some of your grains for more veggies. So I think of it like if I'm going through the line at Chipotle, right? I'm going to choose the salad instead of the bowl option. And you can make that with your meals at home too. So take out some of the grain, add in some more leafy greens underneath your dish, or even like some roasted veggies underneath there. And then you can still put your same, protein on top, same little sauce or drizzle over the top, and help kind of reduce some of those grains from the diet.
All right.
Don't know where we're at next.
Yeah,
what are we
we're
talking
at
about?
part 2 now. So we're at planning, prepping, and strategizing, this is a great part. And we're also going into using your personalized food lists. I think this is my thing. Now I do want to do a little bit of housekeeping here, because I think I've typed it about 6 times. I do want to remind people that we are recording this webinar, which is awesome, because you will get a recording of this. I know people are like taking notes and stuff like that frantically, and I'm like, don't worry. We are recording this webinar, And not only will you get a link to this recording tomorrow and a follow-up email, but just this is a surprise for the end, but we are giving you, and you'll be able to download it right here at the end of this webinar. I'm giving you a PDF version of a superfood, go-to superfood recipe from everybody here, including me, but better recipes from the experts here. So you'll get a PDF of 5 recipes that are go-to superfood recipes from everybody here, which is really, really awesome. And it's also a new lovely feature, bell and whistle, from this new webinar platform that we have here that I'm really happy about. So woohoo! Awesome.
I think we had one person say, what did each of us make? What was the last thing we cooked?
They're like,
and actually the recipe I'm sharing in there is the last thing I cooked. I thought, since we're doing it this week, it's the artichoke chicken dish. So
you did. You're like, I just made this. Here's the picture. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. And actually, there's 6 recipes because Grant shares an extra one in here in the deck, and it's a salad recipe, which is amazing. It's not included in the PDF, but you'll get the recording here. And a salad is literally like, go to the store, pick up your ingredients, put it in a bowl. And the salad recipe that he's going to share is amazing. And so you will get the recording of this, no worries at all. So we're going into planning, prepping, and strategizing, which is super awesome. And one thing I do want to remind everybody as we go into this strategy part of the webinar is, you have your full list of foods in your Viome app. You go to your nutrition tab, and oh, I'm sorry, I realized that normally this little thing is actually supposed to be something that goes through the motions and show you all your thing in your app, but in this one it doesn't move. If you go to your nutrition tab in your app, look at all of your foods. Now, of course, you have your superfoods, but it's a limited amount of foods. It's a good amount of foods, but it's really not enough for you to make a full meal plan for you to live on for the next 4 to 6 months, right? Until you retest and you check in. So rely on those enjoy foods. That's why we're talking about swaps today and replacements, right? Rely on those enjoy foods to really fill in those gaps and give you a really good, huge variety of foods for you to use to make a good, wide range of breakfast, lunches, and dinners, so that your body and your microbiome can get a good amount of different nutrients to feed it and support those scores that need attention, right? So that's why I was going to be talking about using your personalized food lists. You can use your minimized as well, as we said earlier, but concentrate on your superfoods. Use that enjoy list, rely on it to get some nutrition, and then retest, and then hopefully some of those avoid foods that you are not happy that you can no longer eat, maybe they can come back onto your enjoy list little by little, right? Okay, good. Who's up next? Who's gonna tell? Sorry about that.
We both Yes. So let's talk about planning ahead. Lisa already mentioned your food list. So as you're building your grocery list or you're at the grocery store, make sure you have that handy, and go for variety. Choose from superfood, enjoy, minimize lists. Pack your fridge with your superfoods. Have those ready to go. Now, I personally like to have a day of the week where I do all my prep for the week. I don't like to spend too much time cooking during the week. I'm just busy. We're a busy family. So I take a few hours on Sunday and do all my prep work. So that means soaking and perhaps even cooking my beans and grains. I'm also soaking my nuts. So I think somebody mentioned this in the comments, and maybe Janelle mentioned it before, but soaking these beans, grains, and nuts is really important for your digestion. These are coated with this protective coating called phytic acid, and your body can't digest it very well. It can cause some bloating, some gas. That's why, beans are infamous for, gas, because your body can't quite digest it. So by soaking it, you're starting that digestion process already. You're also starting to activate that bean or that grain, so that it's starting to almost sprout. So then the nutrients become more bioavailable. So highly recommend soaking your beans, grains, nuts ahead of time, perhaps even cooking your beans and grains and maybe freezing some, having some on hand and ready to go. And then if you're somebody who just struggles with what to eat, this meal matrix is for you. It's super handy. You see it in the bottom corner there. There's several columns of different food groups. So proteins, grains, vegetables, fats, herbs. You're going to get a PDF version of it. Looks like Lisa's already sent it out, where you can fill in your superfoods, your enjoy, minimize foods on this table. And what you want to do when you're ready to make a meal, choose something from each column. And then boom, there's your meal. You have your meat, your protein, your side dish, and your herbs, fats, and perhaps even a fruit to go with it. I like to choose ingredients that can be double duty, so we say here. Like for example, maybe I'm making some chicken quinoa with sauteed peppers and tomatoes as a side dish. I'll have that one day, I'll make extra of those peppers and tomatoes, and then perhaps later in the week, I might make a soup with them, or they might go on top of a salad. So think about creative ways that you can reuse your food throughout the week to keep it fresh and different. And you're not having to make everything from scratch every time. And most people kind of skip over your beverages when you're meal planning, but I would advise you to try to plan ahead, right? Having healthy options available on hand throughout the week will help minimize any bad choices that might come up as you walk by that vending machine or the grocery store, right? So try to plan ahead your drinks. Beverages can be a really easy way to consume extra calories and sugar. There's often, I've seen even some juices that have more sugar in them than a candy bar would, and surprising ones like even green juice. They can have a lot of sugar in there. So make these drinks yourself if you can. I like to make an iced tea at the beginning of the week. Green tea is one of my superfoods right now, so green tea is my go-to for an iced tea. But I also have ginger and rosemary on my enjoy list, so I like to make teas out of those. It's starting to get a little bit colder, so I'm favoring a little bit more hot teas right now. Yep, cheers, Lisa. And fruit-infused water, spa waters are a nice way to infuse a little bit more flavor in your water. I know I get a little bored sometimes of just drinking plain water and want some flavor. So that's an easy way, low calorie, low sugar, to get some flavor in there. I would just caution to be mindful of those really acidic fruits that you infuse in your water, especially like the lemons and the limes. Those can have a drying effect on the mouth, which can really affect your oral microbiome and can give the microbiome a chance to make more cavities, right? So if I'm not saying you shouldn't drink lemon water, but of course check where lemon or lime is on your food list. If you can enjoy it, then I would say be mindful not to sip on it throughout the day. If you're going to drink it, just drink it perhaps around a meal, and then let your oral microbiome recover. That saliva helps replenish and rebalance the pH in your mouth. And so now we wanted to talk about our favorite meal prep strategies. I know somebody asked what's the last thing that we cooked. So I guess I'll kick it off with my meal prep strategies. I personally don't mind eating the same thing every day. So I like to do my cooking on Sunday, as I mentioned before, and I like to cook one pot meals. And I have a one pot meal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, kind of up my sleeve, something that I can change the veggies or change the fruits in it. For example, for breakfast right now, I have eggs as a superfood. So I've been making an egg bake where I take a 9x13 pan, I throw in all my superfood veggies, and you could do breakfast meats in there too. I whisk up some eggs, I pour them on top, and I bake it. And then I'll slice it up so I have a slice for every day. I can eat it cold, I can eat it hot. Some other one pot ideas For breakfast, you could make a big chia pudding. Janelle mentioned that earlier. I love chia pudding. You could do baked oatmeal. So just thinking of things that won't take a lot of time. They won't take a lot of dishes. I don't want to spend too much time. I don't want to clean too much, but I do want to make sure I'm getting good nutrition. And then for dinner or lunch, think salads. I love soup, especially at this time of year, and I'm going to share my soup recipe with you at the end here.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. All right, I'll jump in here. Okay, well, I'm a mom of 3 little kids, so time is always of the essence. For me, I'm pretty routine with my breakfast. I have a couple go-tos, and I'm in a good habit with that. So my meal prep strategy is I always plan dinner. That's the meal I plan and cook. And I always cook at least 1 extra serving every night at dinner. And then when I'm cleaning up, I use just like a glass Tupperware, kind of like the one on the picture here. And I package up that single serving, and then it's ready to be, heated the next day for lunch. And so I'm good. I've just got to plan the 1 meal each day, and then I'm set for the next day for lunch. Makes it easy.
Makes it super easy. I think we had a very similar strategy, having so many kiddos in the household. I do most of the breakfasts and lunches for the family, and the wife, she does dinners and, like you said, plans those out. I don't really have a good meal prep. We don't do a lot of prepping like Hillary does. Our strategy is more about just keeping good, nutritious foods on hand, whether that's fresh or frozen, jarred even. And really, I think the best example of this is what we call my dad salads. I kind of get, I catch some flack at work.
Sorry.
Oh,
That's me, sorry.
I think this is a prime example. It shouldn't be hard. Good, wholesome nutrition. It can be super simple. It's just a matter of keeping things on hand. Here, this is literally a picture of my salad I brought into work yesterday. It takes me less than 10 minutes. I keep the tomatoes and everything on hand. You can see there's artichoke. I grab, jarred or canned artichokes. I look for what's on sale. I look at the oils to see what the best option is. Olives. I don't do a lot of the food prep with the beets, to prep them myself. So I get the prepared cooked beets. Sometimes they're spiced or dipped in apple cider vinegar, balsamic vinegar, but a great option. There's blueberries, whole nuts. I keep a lot of bulk nuts on hand. Sometimes we throw them in the freezer to keep them fresh if we get a bag of them for the cheap. But I'm just grabbing things as I go, and you know what, I'm thinking about the rainbow, the colors. How many colors and how many foods can I get into this salad? And they don't have to go together. There's blueberries in
I
there,
was
right?
wondering about that.
Turmeric.
I don't know if I put the blueberries in, but I like the
I
idea.
love it.
Yeah, I typically don't like I don't like strawberries in my salad for some reason. It's too sweet, but blueberries, I throw them in, I don't even notice them. And so I'm just looking and I'm thinking about the colors, and I'm going through, what do I have? Do I have carrot? Do I have orange? Oh, I don't have carrot. Let me grab a bell pepper. There's a same thing, tomatoes. I don't have a red. What can I grab? And I'm just grabbing ingredients as I go and really trying to just see how many plant-based ingredients can I get into this thing. And it turns out delicious. You can see on the top that the orange yellow stuff, that's the turmeric. I keep ginger and turmeric fresh root in the freezer. I just pull that out. I grab my little grater. I do that over the salad. It takes 30 seconds. And then I get 2 tablespoons of turmeric on top of my salad. It blends in really well. I dose this off with my olive oil, a little vinegar. Usually I prefer the red wine vinegar. Chop it up. And then typically I'll have my protein will be a leftover from the night before. So maybe some fish or chicken, or maybe I'll go grab a rotisserie chicken. I'll go take a walk. We have a grocery store here close to the office. But how the dad salad got its name is typically if I run out of a protein, I'll grab some of the kids' chicken nuggets, and so I'll have the dino nuggets or something and have those on top. So that's how the dad salad got its name. But it's just to highlight that keeping these items on hand and tossing them together, you're never going to find a salad like this that's as delicious and nutritious. Eating out, right? They're always trying to cut costs and keep as few ingredients as possible. But It's really simple, really easy to do. Again, just a few minutes every morning. I'm doing this. I'm bringing it to work, and it's great. And it helps me feel good and empower through my day. So,
and I'll add, Grant, like
yeah, just wanted to share
sometimes
that.
it's hard to keep that, like a huge variety of fresh ingredients, especially if you're just, you're cooking for one, you're not going to go through that many, tomatoes or that many cucumbers or whatever. But I like that you have some things in here like the capers, the jarred artichoke hearts. Beets can also be like jarred or canned. Some of those, like if they're on your superfood list, you can keep in the pantry, and then that's an easy go-to. Olives would be another good one.
Absolutely. I have the hardest time with the greens. Sometimes I don't make it through the greens for the week. But I just grab those, I throw them into the freezer, and then we use those for smoothies.
Yeah.
They're great. And I just put them, they're cold. I put them in with the berries, and we make smoothies for the kids. Great way. Yeah, it's always this kind of constant battle of like, how can I keep fresh and not waste food, not let things go by. But yeah, some great tips there.
Yeah, if you have greens that you feel like you're not going to get through, because I do this all the time. Arugula, I use it with my beet greens, whatever. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to get through all these. You can bag them up, and they'll last in the freezer for like 3 months. It's great.
Or you
Easy.
can put them, you'll see in my recipe, you can put them in your stock if you're making like a vegetable stock or even a meat stock. They just add a little bit more flavor, a little bit more nutrition. So another bonus.
All right.
Nice.
Are
What's
we
next?
going? Oh, we're going. I keep on doing that. I'm so sorry. I apologize. We're going to the hacks part. And this is a super exciting part, which is we're going to show you, and actually I will, how to use, and actually it was Hillary. I don't know who showed you, Hillary. Did somebody show you, or did you come up with it? How to create a weekly meal with using your personal superfoods and your avoid foods, obviously using ChatGPT. Did you come up with it, or did somebody show you originally?
I don't know where it started. I can't take credit.
We started playing around with it, and it does work really well.
Yeah.
It does. It does. And actually, while you guys talk about it for a second, just a really quick second, I'm actually going to share my screen and just do a really quick demo. It's only going to take like literally 30 to 45 seconds.
Yeah, I'll talk through it while Lisa's pulling it up. But okay, there's ChatGPT, there's Bard, there's Bing. There's a few different ones, right? And they all give pretty similar results. But you can go to these and use them for your meal planning, for your shopping list, and it's really fun. It's fun to play around with it. We usually do something like, say, okay, here are the foods I should eat regularly, list your superfoods. Here's the foods I need to avoid, list your avoids. Here's the foods I can have sparingly, and here's the foods I can enjoy freely. And you can write something like, create me a 7-day meal plan. And it's going to spit out something like you're seeing here on the screen. You can go even further and then say, okay, provide me the recipes for that meal plan. The thing I've noticed the most is that usually it's giving pretty simple recipes, which I love. It makes it so much easier. And then like Lisa's doing, can I have recipes for that? You're going to get those. Look at that's like a 5-ingredient recipe, and one of the ingredients is salt.
Just cranks them out.
After that, you can then say like, I want a shopping list.
Yeah.
And it's going to provide all that.
Shopping list.
Go ahead, Lisa.
You can even say organized shopping list, like it'll do it by the grocery section, or you can do it by produce, meats. Yeah.
Now, the one thing I want to say is that, of course, it's pulling from the internet. So there's lots of really good information on the internet, and there's lots of inaccurate information on the internet. But this is a very simple ask. So if you don't like something, throw it out. Ask it for another recipe. Ask it for another week of recipes. You can have a continuing. I'm going to actually pull this down. You can ask it for another week of recipes. You can ask it for more suggestions. You can have a continuing conversation with it. And like I said, you don't like something, throw it out and ask it for more. That's why it's really, really cool. And this is a very like kind of a low risk ask to something. But if it says bake something at 500 degrees for 5 days, obviously throw it out. Use your good judgment. But for the most part, it gives you really, really great suggestions. The one thing that I also want to show you is a recipe aggregate too, called Supercook, which gives you really great suggestions for if you just want to put in ingredients, salmon, broccoli. It'll pull from the internet actual recipes from websites and give you recipes. If you don't want the simple recipes that ChatGPT will create for you, you can do that as well. And I know go ahead.
So we had a question too, wondering if like using the ChatGPT, if it'll analyze your macronutrients. And we played around with this a little bit too. You can ask for a certain amount of calories in your meal plan.
Yes.
You know, you could say I need so much protein in a day. So you can get granular if you want to. Like Lisa was saying, use your judgment. My experience, like as a dietitian, as a health coach, most people don't follow a 7-day meal plan, and that's okay. It's a lot to follow breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 7 days, but use it to get inspired. Maybe you can pull out 2 or 3 recipes that you're like, okay, these are my go-tos for lunch, and you can use them throughout the week. So get some ideas from it. It's fun to play around with.
Yep. And speaking of inspiration, we also have this as well. This is the recipe section from the Viome blog as well. You will see recipes from Janelle and Hillary. Grant, I have not received any recipes from you to put up there, so I would love that as well. So if you're interested in seeing some great recipes, you might see your superfoods on there as well. I'm going to flip through these really, really quickly. I'm sorry if I miss you, but I mean, it is available on our website there. And then also there is another place that I want you to visit. If you want to be in a group of like-minded people who want to trade ideas about how to use their Viome recommendations, ask questions about how to use superfoods, or share recipe ideas, there is also the Viome recipe group, an inspiration group, which is a closed group. You just have to request access to it if you are not already a member, and you can trade ideas on there, offer up your own recipes, and see what other people are doing as well. You just have to answer a couple of questions, and the administrator should admit your access. But the one thing that I do want to share this is a download, so I don't have to worry about that. This is our superfood recipes PDF that I am able to share right now to you in the handouts over here in the column right here. And this is a special, let me see if I can actually share it as a material so you can see it. I'm going to remove this really quickly. And let me see if you can just see this. Yeah, look at that. Oh, that's so cool. So this is what your PDF will look like. And this is Grant's carrot ginger soup and Janelle's chicken and artichokes that she just made the other day. And this is Hillary's fermented buckwheat bread. That's her go-to for her bread. And then also Hillary's superfood soup. And then my overnight oats is a go-to for me as well. And then I also put together just a little quick reference, food swaps for avoid foods. Much of what you saw here today, suggestions on the main ingredients, and then suggestions over here. You can print this out. You can stick this on your refrigerator. I hope it helps you, and I definitely hope that this webinar was helpful for all of you out there. And I saw a lot of great suggestions from the crowd as well. Thank you for sharing those. And thank you for joining us here. We went a little bit overboard, but I think it was worth it to be able to share the thoughts and suggestions from Hillary, Janelle, and Grant. And thank you for your time. And everybody have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. And we'll see you back here again next month for our next webinar. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Lisa.
Bye. Being here. Have a great day.